Okay. I hope everybody could hear me okay. But this in the beginning of Perek Vav, we are going to talk about Uziyahu, the king of Yehuda. For those that know, for those that are on the sheet, we are over here. I just entered this here. Starts ruling when he was 16, when his father went into hiding. And now he has his own rule, his own time. So just the facts. Okay, Bishnat Esrim V'Sheva Yeravam Melech Yisrael Melech Azariah ben Amatzia Melech Yehuda. Ben Shana. So he started ruling in the 27th year of Yeravam Melech Yisrael. Okay, Ben Sheish Esrei Shana Haya b'Malko v'Chamishim V'Shayim Shana Malach b'Yerushalayim V'Shemi Mo Yechalyahu miYerushalayim. Okay, so he was. Again, he was 16 and he ruled for 52 years. So that's a pretty long time. He was generally pretty righteous. He was generally pretty good. Okay, like his father, like the ones before him, he did not get rid of the bamot. Okay, and here's where things get interesting. Vayinaga Hashem et hamelech vehi mitzora ad yom moto. Okay, at a certain point, I believe it was in the last 25 years of his reign, he was stricken with tzarat, and he lived as in Mitzorah. He lived with tzarat until the day of his death. Vayeshev beveit hachofshin, he sat in the house of freedom, and I'll mention what that is in a second. V'yotam ben hamelech al habayit shofet et haaretz. Okay, so where does this tzarat come from? Why is he stricken with tzarat? Because there's one thing that he did, which was really contrary to all the good things that he did. He did a lot of very good things. What he did, the problem, right? The reason he got sarad was because he entered the Beit Hamikdash in order to bring ketoret, which was like a korban or an offering, that a bring of ketoret, and that was something that only kohanim were allowed to do. So what made him do that? Why did he think that it was okay to bring ketoret into the Beit Hamikdash, like even though he wasn't a kohen? So he probably because he achieved a lot of good things. He fought against the Plishtim and he was successful. He built towers in Yerushalayim. Again, a lot of this is written in Divrei Hayam, and we're not going to look at it now. He was also very, very wealthy. And all of these successes caused him to become too proud, right, too high in himself because he achieved a lot. And then it led him to think that he has the right to bring a ketoret into the Beit HaMikdash. So that was really the flaw in his resume, right? In addition to the bamot, right, he really did a lot of great things. He made this one mistake, and ultimately he paid the price for it for the rest of his life, in living with Sarat. Okay, and it says here, Vayashav beveit hachofshit. Okay, what is a chofesh? Like a vacation, right? So we know that a mitzorah, somebody with tarat, is not allowed to have any kind of social business or business interaction with other Jews, right? He has to sit outside of the city, and in this case, he sat in a special building that was set aside for people that had tarat, and it was known as the Beit HaChofshit, the House of Freedom. Why freedom? Because he was free of any worker obligations. I don't know if necessarily freedom here is a good thing. Chazal say that being a king is not only an honor and a privilege, it is considered almost like slavehood, because of all the responsibilities it entails. And it's almost like it's telling us here that Azariah or Uziyahu was freed of these obligations because of his tzarat. Now, again, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, right? Definitely, when a person is in a position of leadership, you work for all your people, right? You really are. I say all the time, I have a lot of bosses, and ultimately, if I were not to do that, I'd be freed of that responsibility, but I probably wouldn't be so happy, right? And probably I wouldn't consider it necessarily a good thing. So because he had to sit out of the city and he wasn't really allowed to engage with the people, the Yotam ben Hamelech al Habayit shofet et ha'aretz, his son Yotam didn't serve as the king; he kind of served as the judge. So I guess when there was if there was ever a time that somebody had to come to the king, to discuss judicial matters, right, his son Yotam really stepped in. Okay, v'yeter divrei Azariyahu v'chol asher asa lo k'tivim al sefer divrei Hayamin l'malchi Yehuda. Okay, vayishkav Azariyahu im avotav v'ikbaru tal b'ir David v'yimloch Yotam ben Yotam. Okay, so he dies, and ultimately his son Yotam rules instead. So just going to our chart over here. So if you want to fill in your chart here, right, we wrote already before that he started ruling when he was 16. Overall, he was I don't know why that's not coming up. Okay, but he was a very, very successful king. I'm not sure what's going on here. Going to do it over here. Okay, very successful king. Okay, we said some of the things that he does is he defeated the Plishtim. Haven't heard of them in a while. Okay, he builds towers in Yerushalayim. Okay, he He was very wealthy. Okay, and then we said that these achievements made him feel too proud that he was worthy, of bringing Ketoret into the Beit HaMikdash, even though that was only done by Kohanim. Okay, so he lives with Sarad for the rest of his life. According to most opinions, it was about 25 years. Okay, that basically. Okay, this is really the point where things start to get really dysfunctional in Malchut Yisrael, and this is really the beginning of the end. If you look at your charts, right, you'll see that there's very, very few kings left, and the ones that are left, they really rule for a pretty short amount of time. So we're just going to go through the text pretty quickly. Again, there's not a ton to discuss here. Okay, so B'shnat Shoshim B'shmona Shana Azaryahu Melech Yehuda. Okay, Malach Zechariyahu ben Yeravam al Yisrael b'Shomron Shisha Chodeshim. This is the last of the members of Yehu's dynasty. So this is the fourth generation, and his great-great-grandson. So Yeravam son Zechariah, he rules only for 6 months. Vayas hara b'nei Hashem kasher su avotav lo sar michatot Yeravam ben Yevad asher achti Yisrael. Okay, and he does bad, and he continues in the evil ways. Vayikshor alav shalom. You're going to see this word a ton. Vayikshor, kesher, rebellion. Vayikshor alav shalom ben Yavesh vayaku. We're going to keep saying this over and over again. Someone by the name of Shalom ben Yavesh. He basically rebels against Zechariah, and he assassinates him, and he rules in his place. Just to focus in on the words here a little bit, not only does he assassinate Zechariah, but he does it in front of everybody. Vayakeyu kaval am. He does it in the middle, in front of the entire nation. He assassinates him, and he rules in his stead. V'yater divrei Zechariah hinehem ktavim etc. Pasuk Gitbet. Hu dvar Hashem asher diber el Yehu lemor b'nei revi'im yeshvu l'chal kisei Yisrael vayichen. This was the end of the fourth generation. This is the promise that Hashem made to Yehu, and this really completes the 4 generations of Yehu's family. Next, Shalom ben Yavesh malach b'shnat shloshim. V'teisha shana l'Uziyahu melech Yehuda vayimloch yerach yamim b'Shomron. He rules for a grand total of 1 month. Okay, Vayal Menachem ben Gadi mitirtza vayavo Shomron vayaket Shalom ben Yavesh b'Shomron vayimitehu vayimloch tachtav. He rules for a grand total of 1 month. Comes along another guy, right, and he assassinates Shalom ben Yavesh. His name was Menachem ben Gadi. He also was pretty bad. And he kills him again, and he rules in his stead. So you have a 6-month guy, now you have a 1-month guy. Okay, v'yeter divrei shalom, etc. V'kishor asher kashar heloim tuvim al sefer divrei hayamim. It talks about his rebellion, etc. Here we go. Pasuk tet zayin. Az yakem menachem et tifsach v'et kol asher bav yakvuleha mitirtza ki lo patach v'yach et kol heharoteha. Tifsach was a city in Aram. So it was not a Jewish city; it was a city in Aram. Okay, and if you notice what he does here. He basically he destroys the city. Okay, he smote the whole city, and he basically takes all heharoteha. He takes all the pregnant women and he rips them up. Which is just the height, obviously, of cruelty. According to the Ralbag, Menachem did offer the people a chance of surrender, and when they did not open up the city to him, that's what it's saying here, Kibalo Patach, they didn't open up the city to him, that's when he conquers it, and he does this terrible thing. He rips, as I said before, I can't even say it out loud. There's a halacha, actually, the Rambam says that when a person surrounds a city, you should leave one side open so that the people in the city can escape. Menachem did not do this. He closed off the city completely. He also disregarded the halacha that one is not allowed to kill women and children. So you see, the kings of Malchut Yisrael are just, things are really, really bad at this point. Vayas hara b'nei Hashem. Vashnat 39 shana la'Azaria Malach Menachem ben Gadil Yisrael Eser shanim b'Shomron. He rules for 10 years. He's one of the worst in history. Vayas hara b'nei Hashem lo sar mikol chatot Yeravam ben Nevat asher achti Yisrael kol yemei chayav. He's really, really bad. He's really, again, one of the worst. Okay, it is at this point, tragically, where the Ashur now becomes a world power. Assyria, Ashur. Okay, Ashur. So there was a king of Ashur. His name was Pul. Okay, Ba Melech Ashur ala Aretz Vayiten Menachem Lepul Elef Kikar Kesef. So the Ashur again, they've kind of overtaken Aram as the major power here, and they are going to be the enemy. They're the ones who actually take Malchut Yisrael into Galut. Okay, and this guy Pul, who's the king, he comes and he's attempting to take over the land, and Menachem gives Pul like 1,000 silvers. He gives him a lot of money, and I guess he's kind of hoping to pay him off to leave him alone. He is hoping that Pul will allow him to maintain his very endangered position as king. Right, as we've seen, they kind of keep getting wiped out. Vayetze Menachem et hakesef al Yisrael al kol gibrei achayil otet lamelech Ashur 50 shkalim kesef leish echad v'yashav melech Ashur v'lo amad sham haaretz. Where did Menachem get the money from? He gets it from taxing a lot of the people. Right, a lot of people were forced to give, a lot of silver, and that's really where he gets the money to be able to pay off Pul Melech Ashur. And it says at the end of Pasukha, Vayashav Melech Ashur v'lo amad sham ba'aretz. The king took the money, the Pul took the money, but he did not stay to assist Menachem against his enemies. Again, this is what we're going to see really until the end. Just tons of turnover every second. The next king is Pekachia ben Menachem. If you go over to your chart, you can write that over here. I'm just having some trouble getting that screen up, but if you under Menachem, right, you should write that he assassinates the king before him. Right, he assassinates Shalom, who ruled only for a month. He conquers this land from Aram, but he really does it in the cruelest possible fashion. He tries to pay off the king of Ashur to allow him to continue to rule, and ultimately he goes down as a pretty bad king in history. We're going to stop here.